Hey, hey, everybody. Welcome to the Tarot Flow Show. You've got all three of us up right now. This is the only tarot talk show in the world that we know of. So that's the one we're talking about. This is the Tarot Flow Show where synchronicity is the star. And today we are so happy to have as co-host on our bottom left with his name. He's shuffling the cards as we speak from Stockholm, Sweden, the Scandinavian wonderful student of the mystic arts, and that is Kefri Skarabus. Kefri Skarabus, yay! Welcome and thank you,
Hi,
thank you, thank
Alison. Thank
you.
you.
And our special guest today, it says offer accelerator, but honestly, he is the mystic accelerator. We have to call him the mystic accelerator. He is also an audio-visual professional with a rental service all up and down California, should you have audio-visual needs. He's also an owner of an art gallery, and he's a collector, and he's an advocate of young and upcoming artists. And so in that way, he accelerates everything, including the mystical arts, and that is our friend, Esteban Castillo. So thank you, Esteban, for joining us here today at the
Hello.
Tarot Flow Show. So,
Hello.
what we're going to be doing today, because we have a little bit of a lag, and so I'm going to talk for a minute, and then I'll open it up for you to talk, is we're going to talk with you a bit. We're going to pick a focus card. We're going to make some connections. We're going to do a reading for us to consider, because that's what readings are, for your consideration. And then for those of you who are new to the channel, welcome, welcome, welcome. What we are doing here is opening up and pulling back the curtain on the process of divination, which is trying to connect with the divine in tarot and to use these wonderful symbols to our benefit to help us in our spiritual growth, in our psychological growth, in our practical considerations. And then as a business, if you would like to partake of the Tarot Flow Show and of the Follow Your Road Academy and things like that that are upcoming, which we will have classes and we will have travel and we will have events, then hit that AlisonPickering.com and you'll find out more. So just welcome, 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 Esteban. Thank you again for joining us. And tell us a little bit, if you don't mind, what is some of the experience that you have with tarot as an art or as a practice? What is your experience?
I would say it's very insightful. It gives information that maybe is very relevant to my self-development, but is maybe just outside of my peripheral. So it gives me almost like a perspective of the things that I need answers from, or that I need answers of, or gives me like an insight to maybe things that are, like I said, just outside of my own awareness. So, but my conscious awareness, it's actually tapping into like a deeper awareness. It's almost kind of like a teacher told me a long time ago to kind of like to remember what you read instead of reading as if it's new knowledge, if that makes sense.
Thank you. Paul Foster Case talks about the idea that you're not seeing symbols that are outside of you, you're recognizing things that are already inside of you when you encounter these images. So I wonder if that's part of that as well.
I would agree with that for sure.
Mhm.
But I also try to explain it to other individuals in like a really simple way. Of it's like the ancient version of a Google search. So if you're able to use it in that way, you can kind of get insight to things that you're looking for answers.
All right. Well, we might be appropriating that particular little slogan there.
Yeah, but it's really
Oh,
interesting, and I think it's something that maybe should be like understood in a new way. I think there's a lot of things that are a lot of outside forces. I think it's something that even if it's just fun to like play with and have cards, even if you were to just look at it as an art form, it's incredible. But if you were to go up the esoteric ladder, sort of say, then what's it called? You would get all these insights to not only yourself but your reality, and maybe the individual reality, and then the collective reality, and then almost like the, I guess, the spiritual reality that's out there or that's available.
Well spoken, well said as usual, because that is what we try to do here and model here on the show is just having the chance to climb that ladder and to show some different means as well as so because tarot is a serious medium as well as being something that you can play around and have some fun with and be kind of immediate with and have a conversation with and things like that. So I thank you for that insight. We're going to take a quick little tour of some images right now, just so people can know what we're dealing with for those of us who are new to the tarot world. And so our first player in this is the Fool, and he's like the unmanifest spirit. He's willing, he's getting ready to jump. And just because, Esteban, I know that you're very familiar with these images, we'll go through them very quickly for those people viewing. Think of the first row as being kind of home and family kind of thing, that maybe you are just learning. These are the resources that you have as a young person, your internal resources, your external family, your teacher, your choices, your friends, maybe your car, something like that, how you start to get around, get out of the house. In the middle are some kind of lessons of adulthood in different ways, and you might imagine what those are. They are serious things to encounter, and they change you. They leave you with transformation of consciousness. And that then is what we can see in the bottom row, all the different kinds of qualities of consciousness. And it all takes us around to a big kind of loop again, or an ending that's a portal to a new beginning, and then again to our Fool card, who is the 0, and he enters into this sequence at any point. So in these cards, Esteban, I wonder if there's a particular one that we might highlight right now just to unpack and look at some of the symbols. Is there any one that you're feeling particularly attracted to today?
Ooh, the Chariot.
The Chariot. Okay, let's talk about the Chariot. So I'm going to have Kefri is going to display the Chariot on our interface there, and we'll have a chance to see this charioteer and see what we're looking at here as we examine him. And so you are familiar, are you not, Esteban, with the Masonic tradition? And this guy is, in fact, growing out of a stone. So it reminds me of that mnemonic is it vitriol? It's like that you by looking into the earth do we find the stone and polish it, or something along those lines. And so this man is polishing himself out of that stone he's rolling around in. Let's hope that's a big cubic philosopher's stone. And then it has the black and white, which is very reminiscent of the pillars in the Masonic tradition. You also have the sphinxes of the Egyptian tradition. In Tantra, you mother have the lingam and the yoni, and those are depicted on the chariot itself in the red, and then the wings of Mercury, and then the mask of the epaulette. And you could go on and on and on, and not to miss, of course, the apron that he wears and the protectors of his sleeves in the work as he gets into it, and his magic wand. What are some other things, Kefri, that you can kind of just highlight as we look at what all is drawn into this card?
This is about a journey, actually, but as we look at the chariot, he's very stable. He's very stated. He doesn't move, actually. If you look at this peculiar wagon or chariot, or what it is we see, and also the sphinxes are not tied before this chariot. So this is a journey inside of us, I would say. It's a sort of a higher journey that is taking place here. And also the man is growing out of that stone. He's not standing in it. He's growing out of it, if you look closely to this. So this is about an inner journey, and it's also, if you look deep in this card, it's also square on this breast of this figure here. And it has also to do with defining an area where you can work and where you can develop yourself without being disturbed by outer things, so to speak, that you are inside of something, and there you develop, and he's inside the cube here also. So that's
you.
a bit of what is in this card. You're welcome, Hans.
Thank you. Does anything, what might you be reminded of, or what kind of feelings do you get or think about when you look at this, Esteban?
Oh, just like right now or in general? Like,
Just
it did stand
as
out.
we're unpacking it now, yeah.
I would say, well, I never thought about having the Sphinx tied up to the chariot, which kind of blows my mind right now that that was brought up. So that, and then I wonder now if there's an one items, and I wondered if the other hand being loose represents something now. But another thing too is like, and as I look more deeply, the water behind the chariot, it's very little, but that's something that just kind of highlights to me right now at the moment. And the castles in the background, specifically the one on the right hand side. It's really interesting. I would say if I was, reading this card for myself right now, I feel like maybe there's like a decisions have been made about my direction as far as where I'd like to live in the future or something like that. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
People may also have heard of the chariot mysteries or the Merkava mysteries, this idea that there are gods or holy figures who travel through the sky on this chariot, and those are metaphors for this kind of travel that we've been talking about, the internal journey that we've been talking about here as well. So thank you very much. I appreciate your doing that. As we look back at the rest of our majors here, we're going to also take a quick look at the minor arcana, and these are the ones that are the 4 suits, and these are the ancestors of our playing cards. And so the fiery ancestor of our clubs is the wands here, and that's like the notion of an idea. So we're going to take this kind of left to right, or you can imagine it top to bottom as a progression of ideas from who knows where these ideas come from, and that's the wands, into a process of bringing it into consciousness. And so let's say from that wands, which is very fiery, you can see that Knight below has lots of fire in his horsey atmosphere there. And then you've got the cups, which is about you have to care enough about that idea to want to bring it forward. And then there's a lot of sense of quest and purpose in that Knight down below, and lots of watery symbols. Then you've got to make some plans. You've got to think it through. You got to map it out. You got to get pretty cool and calculating. And those are the swords in the air. And you can see below that Knight is now off and running with, he's got a plan and he's ready to go. And there's a lot of air symbolism there. And then it kind of warms up into the earth and slows down into the earth, because in the earth, which is symbolized by that coin or that pentacle, there's a pentagram, which is talking about how we have to experience the earth with our 5 senses. And there's also the implication that we have to play things out here in time. So in our physical bodies, for things to change in our physical environment, it requires this kind of element of time. And so in that way, that horse is the slowest one. He's got to guard the field so that crop will come to fruition. And so there's this whole idea of the inception from seed into harvest, the idea of even having to eat, that we have to feed ourselves and we have to move through time and all that kind of stuff. And so as we look at these fiery wands, we can see the progression perhaps of an idea or a project. And then you've got the 1 through 10, and then the court cards there, lots of fire, fire, fire. And then you have the cups, lots of water and emotion. Think of relationships and feelings and how they go through so many phases and ups and downs, and they are so fluid like water. Then also we have our swords, and the swords are backing up to our swords. You can see that this is pretty cool. The colors are cool. The rationale, it's kind of cold, if you're going to have surgery, you kind of want everyone to have a cool head and remain calm in these plans. You want a cool head in a crisis, but you don't want to be so cold that you kill yourselves with your own thinking. Look at that 9 and 10, how difficult it can be to really torture yourself with too many of the negative thoughts, for example, or your regrets. And then you can see all the air in those court cards. And let's get into a little warmer thing right now, and that's our pentacles. You can see already the sun is warming the earth. We can see the daylight and the plants and the harvest and the idea of perhaps families and businesses and contracts and multi-generational things happening as we get into these pentacles and all the earthy symbols in the court cards. So there we go. And that's going to be the vocabulary then that we use for this reading that we're going to do with Esteban. And he picked the Chariot card, and we are doing 7 cards in this reading. So there's our Chariot again. So that's a nice synchronicity. And these are the positions that we're going to, those are going to be the meanings of the positions. And then the particular cards that fall onto those positions will be our, the blend of all of those and their relationship together is going to give us this reading. So on the top middle, the issue, on the bottom, a kind of timeline. It could be anchored in the now, or we could be looking at something that happened that was significant to you that happened before, and now we're getting some perspective on it. There's some advice cards on either way, a cautionary piece and then a supportive piece on the top left and right. And then at the end, we'll pick a larger card to kind of give us perhaps some additional perspective or an umbrella consideration as we look at these different cards. Questions. What questions might we have at this point? Esteban, does anything come to mind?
I always like the idea. What is it? Shoot from the hip and let the cards read what they need to read.
Okay, so we're just going to let them fall?
Let me just make sure. Yeah, I actually no. I like the idea of the timeline. I forgot about that, to be honest. So I was thinking maybe the timeline could be of like, I have a huge pile of connections that I need to reach out to, and so I kind of want to get an idea of like the timeline. How should I interact with them? What is this pile of contacts that I've met? You know, just a view of that, if it's at all possible.
So I think that our top middle card probably is what Kefri's going to go after pretty soon, and that's going to give us like this pile of contacts and what to do. Yeah. All right. Well, I will certainly gladly
the contacts that I've made on the trip that I went to.
Okay. On your world travels and on your kind of journey of exploration. Now, what have you explored and what's going to be coming from this? This is interesting. I'm going to pull down our interface, and Kefri, I think you might as well go ahead and choose our significator.
Yeah, I will do that, but I will do it for the last card. And I am shuffling Esteban, so you can say stop where you want the stop to be.
Okay. Almost there. Okay, stop.
There. And cutting,
Yes.
how many times do you want to cut? If you want to cut.
Oh, 7.
7.
Please.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And we start with subject of the question here up in the middle, and it is the 3 of Swords. Three of Swords, and then we go to the bottom row and we take the past, and it is the Judgment. And then we take the present, and it is the 6 of Wands. And we take the future, and it is the 8 of Cups. And we take the cautionary card up here to the left, and it is the King of Pentacles. And we take the advice card of what to do, and it is the Ace of Cups. So there you have it, and I wait with the 7th card to when we have finished the reading this long.
All right, thank you, Magnus. Thank you, Kefri. Would you mind putting up the 3 of Swords, please?
Yeah, there it is.
So this is kind of a dismal-looking card, but it really is the card of choosing and of taking a direction. And so if you think of the progression of the cards in the aces, and Kefri, I hope you don't mind if I'm going to ask you to just show the ace and show the 2 and then show the 3, just real quick in that position. Just so we don't want to be too scared, but sorry, the ace of, if you wouldn't mind showing an ace of swords and a 2 of swords, just to show the kind of,
we do that, an ace of swords.
Like the progression of events. So there's the first, that's the seed idea. So you had this seed idea, shall we say. This is like, perhaps this is when you took your trip. And then let's look at the 2.
2 of swords is coming up.
So then you're at a place where you are, now you're really starting. And I have a feeling this is kind of where you've been, where you've made a bunch of contacts, and now you're at a place where you don't exactly know where to begin. And so what the next step in the process is. So this one is kind of like you can only see a little, and you could put down your swords, but you're very preoccupied with these swords because they are your 2 possibilities right now. And so there needs to be some kind of a decision made, and that whatever the decision is, and now we can go to the 3, please, Magnus, Kefri, excuse me. And as we look at that 3 then, which is our kind of topic at hand here, the subject at hand, we're looking at this process of when you do make a decision, something else has got to go. And so that's a difficult decision to make. And so that's kind of where you are right now. But what's interesting is to kind of follow the red in this. And if you follow the red in this, to me, that kind of gives you a good idea of where to follow your passion in this. And so even though you may have spent a bunch of money and made a lot of contacts and things like that, and it really woke you up. So let's take a look down at that judgment card, please. Looking at our past, kind of whatever is the first step in this particular trajectory that we're tracing with these cards. That if we're tracing the red, then is this kind of experience that you had that woke you up to see like how many cool people there are in the world. It opened your eyes. It opened some doors. It opened perhaps their awareness to the fact that you exist, which is very, very important. There was a lot of opening of eyes. And in that way, it's a very positive experience. And the colors, if you look at the color tones in this, we've been following the red, but up in that angelic figure is all very much these kind of cool colors that are from kind of the higher realms. And this red is kind of bringing it into what are you going to do now in the physical realm? And these people aren't even really that physical at this point. There's little spirits kind of up and out of their little preconception boxes or tombs. And so you now have been kind of confronted with this, and it looks very much like that 2 of swords, that cross, that equal armed cross is kind of like now you have these 2 possible directions to go in, and they're both kind of equally viable, it seems to me. And so as you move from this judgment card, which is the awakening of all this possibility, and now we move that into some kind of practical thinking, which is that 6 card, which is a nice balanced place. The 6 is a very nice balanced place, and this is a good place and this is the card that's literally called victory. You can see 2 different victorious wreaths there. And so whatever you have done, as we follow the red in here, the red here is the ribbon on the victory. It's the reins on the horse. It's a hat of an unknown, unseen person who might be a little silent partner, perhaps you have behind there. I've never really paid attention too much before to that little red hat back there behind the horsey. But that's an interesting companion in this forward journey. And then as we trace this, so there's the idea of generically there has been victory in all of this, and people are generically supportive of you, and even one in particular who might even be a black sheep in their own circle is favoring you. That's the kind of hidden partner behind the horse there. The horse is kind of looking back at you because he doesn't know where he's going yet. He needs you to tell him. And then what's interesting is that as we move into the future, there may be some decisions to be made that may take you off the speedier vehicle. And let's look at that 8 now. And for you to make the decision that is most aligned with your higher purpose, you may have to get off that particular fast horse and move away from where you have invested a lot of emotional energy or a lot of just plans and expectations and hopes for its fruition and all that kind of stuff. But it doesn't fit now. So for you to go to your highest ground involves your having to do something different. And it probably will involve some solitude. It may involve some meditation and kind of dream work and things like that, because this is very much accompanied by the moon. The moon is that place of 6 and balance and gold in the reading, and this is very strongly depicted. There may also be a feminine person who's giving you some advice on this, or who's kind of watching over you in this process, kind of a feminine protective energy with that moony kind of figure up there, who's just making sure that you don't go too much off the rails as you do this. And then importantly, I think, is going to this top row. And so it's really telling you to not chase the money, but really chase the emotional thing. So whatever that cup is that's been missing in your future card there is now being recommended to you. This is the big cup. This is the cup with the Maria. You know, it's got the M of the Maria on the cup there. It's the communion cup. It's the cup of the Holy Spirit. It's the blessing and the overflowing of emotion in particular. And because there was so conspicuously absent the emotional cup in that 8 of cups below, and it's being recommended to you above, then whatever it is that has been the missing element in your endeavors before this needs to be the priority as you move forward. And that seems to be an emotional component, because I think that you can make a success out of whatever you put your mind to. So what's going to make you feel the best? And that in this case, that isn't really about you being the boss or your being the King of Pentacles. We might as well go ahead and show Kefri that King of Pentacles, because I think that you're capable and you're a business person. You already have a lot of money in play and you have something going on. But it seems like this particular role as a driver, and that Taurus is all over this reading. Taurus, and the key words of Taurus being I have, that idea of possession, the second house, all that kind of property and ownership, and again, there is a purity of heart here. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing inherently wrong with any of those concepts. And in fact, this King of Pentacles, heavy is the crown of the man responsible for all of these people's well-being, you know. And the crown has the red roses and the white lilies, just like the magician. He is crowned with both victory as well as the flowers of virtue and passion. So there is nothing wrong with this particular role or way of thinking, except it's appropriateness as the main driver for you as you move forward. So if we looked at this big pile of contacts now, I believe it's less important for you to seek out who's got the money in that pile, and more important for you to seek out who makes you happy to deal with them, and who seems to satisfy or align with you in a more emotionally authentic way, or religious or spiritual way, as represented by that Ace of Cups, would be the better direction, or if not a person in terms of this. So in fact, this walking away card that we see in that 8 may mean that right now that pile of contacts is to be left alone for the moment, like you are leaving that pile of cups. Perhaps a communication that just says, hey, I'm on a little vision quest, I'll be back, or whatever it is. I look forward to being with you in 2025. I don't know what it is, but something along those lines to keep yourself alive in their eyes, and yet permit yourself the vision quest that's going to be the most satisfying to you, without giving up the access to their materials and resources.
Wow.
So that's what I would kind of see here. I hope that's useful, and you do have the recording, and I will go ahead and hand off to Kefri right now. Kefri, might you like to comment?
Thank you, Alison. Yeah. I am looking at it, and I am looking at the Tree of Swords, and I will take that a bit more kabbalistically, because I know that you know the Tree of Life, Esteban. And this card to me in this context is showing how the 3 swords are the 3 pillars of the Tree of Life, actually, and they are penetrating the heart at exactly the same place. And if you know the Tree of Life, you know that the penetration point is the energy square that is called Tiferet, that is the balancing square in the Tree of Life, actually. And it's interesting because we know also, if we know our Tree of Life, we know that the Tiferet point, energy point in the Tree of Life is number 6. And underneath you have the 6 of Wands, actually. So this is about a balance, actually. And this is about finding a balance. And your world travel was about that, actually. But for the moment, you have gotten so much impressions from that travel, so you don't know where to leave it off, all of it, or where to place it. But in this, there is a process that's making a balance without you seeing it, actually. And this balance is a good balance, because if we look at the what to do card or the advice card, that has to do with higher divine energies, actually, and they are coming in here. And I don't think it was a coincidence you choose the Chariot card as the first card when we was unboxing the card, because that card is about divine energies coming in to work with us. If we look at the path in the Tree of Life, the way where it connects in the Tree of Life. And also in this reading, we have a lot of red, as Alison has already said, and that is the planet Mars, and that is also taking decisions and everything. But we have also a bit of brown here, and that is the planet Saturn, actually, and that is about discipline and following up and doing, even if it doesn't feel like you want to do it, if you don't see result immediately. But the discipline is important here, that you take care of your impressions from this world traveling, actually. And the King of Pentacles is more that don't sit on the resources, use them to take you forward now. And the Judgment card, the element for the Judgment card in the Tree of Life is primary fire. That is the higher form of fire, and that is what is growing in you for the moment. And that is a very good thing, because it's a balance act, as we have seen in the 6 of Wands. And the outcome of that is in the Eight of Cups, because there you have a sort of an integration between a higher divine energy and your ideas for these projects you are doing for the moment, actually. And Alison has already been identifying that there is one cup missing, and that cup is the cup over there, the Ace of Cups. You can read it like, actually. And that cup has to do with divine energies, as we have been talking about, higher energies and so on. And that is what is coming into this project now, actually. And also, if you look at the Ace of Cups, you can see that it's not 4 streams of water if you look closely. It's 5 streams of water, actually. And that is also because there is the 5th element is coming into this project. It is presented to you, actually, that will balance it. And the 5th element is, of course, the etherical element. It has many names. It could be called spirit, or it could be called etheric, or ether, or what it has been called over history. And that is the element that is coming into this, and that will form it in a new way, actually. So that is what I can see here, that you are following up on your project, but it will be formed in a new way because you are supported from higher realms here in this project. And the Judgment card is the start of that process, we can see. And I will now draw the 7th card, actually, and it is the Page of Swords. So this is you, I believe, in this process, and you are starting out, and you get news, and you are ready to act, actually. And this card also has to do with air and sniffing things, actually. So you sniff in things here, and you can feel with your intuition, you can feel scents almost, and feel this is the right thing to do, this is the right time to act. So you have that, and you have that indicator in yourself, and if you don't have it now, it will be developed in this process. And I stop there. Thank you.
Wow, thank you both of you for the reading. I really appreciate it. Again, it's a lot more than what I expected, but it's very in line with internal
we always
thoughts.
have a lot going on. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's really interesting.
I think it's also important for you not to, just like I was saying before, that you don't have to announce to everybody your plans. This is that same Page of Swords that we've seen in other contexts, and so I think that keep it to yourself. And the people you're talking to don't need to know that you're talking to other people. It's none of their business. This is your life, And so you are not the newcomer who has to be announced on the stage. You are now inviting them to your stage.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's huge. That's a big difference. It took a long time to even go on the journey, but there's so much I could say about this.
And we've been talking, that's been actually kind of a similar theme since I think we first met a couple of years ago, is this idea of claiming your own legitimacy in that realm.
Yes.
And your own place at the table, and your own equality of correctness, shall we say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that's all self-claimed anyway. So you need that that sense of entitlement, claim it, and tell no one about your other plans. It's none of their business.
I like it. That'll actually free up a lot of wasted conversation.
Yeah. You don't have to explain yourself to anyone. You do not have to explain yourself to anyone. The legitimacy of your endeavor is up to you.
Nice.
And under your own control. And no one determines it but you.
If I could give feedback on this, there's one aspect that I really is like a big agreeing for me from your reading, Alison, was what the idea of picking. Before, when I started off, I would grab whatever artists were available, but now I'm like, wow, there's a whole program behind all this. and because of that, I have to deal with these individuals pretty intimately. And so now, what's it called? That's like one of the. I've never taken it to the point where I'm like, you know what? I need to interview these people before I even get into a program, because
Yeah. They need to apply to work with you.
yeah, this is a lot of. I don't want to just deal with anybody that's going to be random or emotionally erratic or something like
Yeah,
that.
and it's you're investing. You're investing that most precious thing there is, which is time, because money is money, but time is a big investment, and your particular energy is powerful and needs to be apportioned appropriately. You know what I mean?
Yes. Oh, yes. Thank you for saying that.
Mhm,
And with
and that goes
Magnus's,
to self-worth and self-value, and what is the value of your time and the value of your input and the value of your everything. And that's where you need to like up because of what you bring. The value you bring is inestimable. And so that's really important for you to own.
thank you. And I would say with what Magnus was saying about the sniffing out or knowing what to do next, even when I write my to-do list, or like, okay, I want to materialistically, I want to get these things done. There's always that intuitive thing that's like, no, you need to work on this, or you need to work on that. And I've noticed if I focus on those intuitive hunches to tell me to guide me into what to do next, they're typically in line with the flow of reality. And I'm just trying to. That was a major one that I was just like, I don't know how you were able to see that with the Page of Swords, but that's definitely happening.
Yeah, that idea of sniffing it on the wind, you know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, I could go into on and on about how accurate this is, but it's spot on for sure. Even the whole part about taking the time to go into that spiritual quest, but in the past I've gone so deep in that rabbit hole that I come back months later and I don't even know it's months later, and people are like, where'd you go? So having that balance of like letting people know, hey, I'll be back in 2005.
It could be as simple as it could be as simple as setting up some automated emails every week. How you doing? You set them up beforehand and then you go.
Yeah, that's exactly that's a great strategy, and that goes along with other readings that we've had that we're talking about the idea of being both in the spiritual and the material world, and finding that balance. So it's interesting. Fortunately for us, or for me, be with you too, is that we have the history of the reading. So I'm sure you're both aware of how interesting it is that the evolution of the readings continues. So I think
that's always a little bit of payoff for us. You know, we do these things and we never know what's going to happen. And so when the cards repeat and when things come up again and all that kind of stuff, it becomes, you can see the threads and that kind of stuff. It's a lot of fun. Absolutely. For those of you who haven't yet worked with tarot, who are watching this, if you've gotten this far, congratulations. Get a deck and entertain yourself, because it's fascinating. It's fascinating. There's a lot to learn, and there's a lot to just conversations with oneself. It's for your consideration. Consider this. Okay, that's productive time.
Oh, yeah. This is incredible. I'm always blown away. That's why I keep coming back. And what do they say in the commercials? Not only am I a customer, but I'm a president. So I believe.
Come on back. Maybe you can co-host one of these days, and you can help with one of our readings and give us some additional interpretations from your artistic and metaphoric viewpoints, which are always really amazing. I thank you for joining us today. Thanks. This is the Tarot Flow. So you were wondering what it was. This is what it is. Hope awesome. It's been useful.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you, Kefri. Everybody, thanks for being with us. We appreciate everybody. And we're going to go ahead and just take it on out and do little greetings and reminding everybody to go to ALISONPickering.com. I hope you're seeing something on the screen, because I see nothing right now, but I'll go ahead and advance the slide and say bye-bye, everybody. So thank you, everyone, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.